Hi there. Well, maybe I'll just visit first and then I will bring this thing up. Um, my name is Noelle, and I am here to share the miracles of my journey because that makes me happy. And this is a very interactive kind of an experience. If no one has their camera on and participates, it will be a lot less fun. But you can decide that, and you're absolutely free to pass in anything, including turning your camera on. And there might be one or two people that are going to embolden themselves and do the thing. This is a process based on something called the Alternatives to Violence Project, which is it happened in a prison in upstate New York after the Attica uprising, when a bunch of people were farmed to prisons all over New York State, and some of them ended up in Greenhaven. And Greenhaven was kind of a facility for youth. And there were a lot of people that were looking like they were going down the same road as these people who had just gone through this bloodbath. The Attica uprising was, you know, uprising slash riot where prisons, guards and uh, incarcerated people were in a big war. It was pretty horrific. And so these people who'd been through that said, we got to do something different. They invited um, uh, civil rights. First, they invited Quakers, who in turn invited civil rights leaders. And so all three of those incarcerated people, civil rights leaders, and Quakers created this thing by borrowing from this and that and all kinds of stuff. But it was hugely transformative quickly. And it happened to be, for me, the first real healing that I'd had. I got my first diagnosis when I was 6, and then I had this prison experience when I was 33. Was the first time, and I had been going in and out of hospitals up to that point. I sort of had started a little bit of a healing journey, but this really was so transformative. It is extremely bonding. It teaches interpersonal skills. It gives a safe container for trauma energy to come up and out. So I knew when I experienced this first 3-day workshop that I attended, and went from nearly Noel, that was the best I could do as far as an affirmation name for myself, to newly Noel in 3 days. And I said, I will be doing this the rest of my life. And so far I have. And I did it in prisons as a volunteer for 30 years until COVID. And now I am actually not living in New York, the United States at the moment. And I'm doing this mostly lately on Zoom, but it will be more in the flesh soon. But anyway, I happen to, yay, I know you, Laurel. It's so good to see you. So I just love this process tremendously. And just coupled with that, I got involved in Costa Rica, where I am, with a community that took what I've been doing in my own mind and up-leveled it tremendously, because they offered perspective and concepts that were like outside of my box. And the most important foundational one is this reactor to creator thing, that we really are 100% responsible. I'm coming at it from a spiritual perspective at this time. I used to be a hardcore atheist. I am not anymore, and that really changed when I had my first break. I was something very different, and I called it God because it was love. And anyway, so this community is very spiritual, and there's a lot of, the terminology I would use is we are powerful creators made in the likeness and image of God, love, whatever you want to call it. So if we own that, if we say that's true, then there's no limitations on what that can mean. And if we're trading that in for feeling like victims of a system, of a relationship, of, our physical condition, anything, we're not stepping into the power that we actually were imbued with in our creation. So that is kind of the bottom line, simple view of version of that. And now I will show this screen, and hopefully you will enjoy this as much as I intend to. Okay, so what do we got here? Uh, Here we go. Piecework from reactor to creator, the value of taking 100% responsibility for the lives we lead. Here's a little lovely quote. Anybody want to read it out loud for me?
Everything in the universe is within you. Ask all from yourself, Rami.
Thank you very, very much, Beverly. That was very kind of you. I've learned to be quiet and just trust. That's faith. So welcome. And it is ideally, this is a model that uses teamwork. And I will share with you that I did 1 hour training in an MHA in Rochester, and they told during COVID, they took it, they ran with it, and I got letters from more, I think three people saying it was the most effective thing they were doing after 1 hour's training, and it's in this format. And by the way, I've got a toolkit that's free to download. So if you like what you experience here, you can take it and run with it and just do it in your world. I'm praying that there's a whole bunch of people already doing that. So welcome overview of the model. I kind of gave a little bit, and some credit was given. Agenda preview wise, we're just going to look at the little community agreements we got going. Laurel Lemke, by the way, knows about this because we did it together in the recovery to practice thing that Billy mentioned. And you have been AVP trained, is that correct, Laurel?
I've gone through the levels of I did training through Monroe Prison, and they haven't, and then I was going to be facilitating, and then COVID happened, and I facilitated twice in the community this last year, or three times within the last year and a half. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks to you.
Thanks. Thank you too, and you're welcome. So then we do a little grounding exercise. Normally these are done in teams, and when I do them on Zoom now, I'm doing them with people that are mostly familiar with it. So I don't do much. I pass off pieces to other people, and that's what makes it so powerful. Is this is a group-owned activity, series of activities. So grounding. I think I might take this one today. I'm not sure. I think actually maybe Laura will do it. You can't volunteer anyone at AVP, but you can ask. So gathering is an opportunity for voices to be heard without interruption. I'll explain that when we get there. And then there's an exercise called Reactor to Creator Responsibility Gems. And I'm going to read some of the concepts that I have adopted from this earthwaking community I'm a part of, and hopefully have time to solicit yours as well. Then light and lively, what am I going to use it for? And an exercise called Better Seeds. And if all goes well, I will get that all accomplished within the time frame. I'm not sure how well that's going to work, but okay. So the first thing we do is a little grounding just to get our bodies present. That's actually not happening in the prison that I know of unless somebody chooses to do it, but it's not part of the format there, but it just is so helpful. So would you be willing, Laurel, to lead us in a little grounding where we get in touch with our hearts, each other, higher power? We call it transforming power in the prison system, doing the Alternatives to Violence project. And just any few words, if you have any, about the value of being responsible for yourself. If does that feel like something you want to do, I'm happy to do it, but I figure you're skilled.
I would ask you to do it.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else feel the call before I do it? Because I see a smile on Beverly. I'm gonna do it. Okay. All right. So I'm requesting, if it feels natural, to just close your eyes and take some beautiful, lovely breaths in, nice deep ones. And just appreciate the life that you're living, that there's life force in your body. And that you get to be the only you that is in existence. Most likely, if there is eternity, the only you in eternity. This particular concoction of chemicals and memories and ideals and everything that you got going, you're it. And how spectacular is that? Just feel into all the tender places in you. There might be emotional sore spots. There might be like just gratitude. It's funny because sometimes it's just a label we put on things, and emotional sore spot can feel like gratitude, or vice versa. and just appreciate as best able the you that you are, the beautiful, unique you that you are, the one and only. And just if for one little bit, explore how much of your experience on this planet seems to be directed from the outside, that you don't have control over yourself. It might be some financial way, or in some physical way, or in some relationship way. See if there's any place you feel like a victim of something. And just feel into that, breathe into that, because that's kind of a discomfort. And just for a moment, imagine what it might be like to recognize once and for all that's illusion. Wherever you feel limited or constrained, there is actually power available to and through you that can transform that. Just try it on if you're willing, if it's possible. Just try it on just for a moment. And ask inside, who would I be without this imaginary limitation? That might actually piss you off. That might feel like a frustration and anger to hear that. But just for this little time that we have together, if we could just put aside everything we believe, because everything that we want and don't have is on the other side of a belief system, something we're dead certain about. We can absolutely know something, but that doesn't mean it's absolute truth. There very well could be more. So settle back down into whatever's comfortable inside your being, of just noticing how wonderful and special you are, just the only you, the one who's already made choices that has changed everything in your life, or you wouldn't be here. And there's more choices to be made. And if it feels natural, just give yourself a big dose of love from your heart. Just let yourself feel love for yourself. You can say the words inside, I love you. Thank you for getting me this far. I love you. Couple more lovely deep breaths, and then return to your present surroundings. Thank you. All righty, and a little bit, what is this wrong thing? So the next thing on the agenda is these ideas of community agreements, simple stuff in this particular space, right to pass if anything doesn't feel good. And I really appreciated you taking care of yourself, Laurel. Ideally, share air fair. Doesn't look like we're going to have a big problem with that because there's not all that many people. But it really is nice to keep an eyeball on ourselves, because sometimes it's like a compulsion. I've had it to speak, and the idea here is like, why am I speaking, or why aren't I speaking? If I'm real quiet, then I could take a risk and speak up. And if I'm real noisy, I could sit down for a little bit. So, and aim for an open mind, because some of these concepts really can be challenging in the beginning. All opinions are welcome and perspectives honored. And I wrote, see shiny in one another, that we are all just radiant children of on high, love, light. That's the truth of who we are. And we can affirm that whenever that feels natural. Oops, I think I swapped those. I was going to do that one first. There we go. Okay, gathering. Something I used to react negatively to, that I now feel completely at peace with is. So if I just aiming for, just something fairly concise, and I'm going to put that in the chat. Something that I used to, here we go, Control V, and oops. Somehow I got the wrong thing in there. Control V, there we go. Something I used to react negatively to, that I now feel completely at peace with is. And everybody can just take a second to go in there and see if you can find something. I used to react negatively to. Well, what comes to mind for me is I had a very difficult relationship growing up with my stepfather, and I considered him like my enemy. And it took a while, but not only have we come to a peaceful place, I have seen how even as a child, I contributed to my dysfunctional relationship with him. And that is pretty powerful means of taking full responsibility. When it was pointed out to me, something I did when I met him at about 5 years old, or 4 years old, I always felt like the victim of him. And then I realized, nope, I did it on purpose. I mean, I was 5 and I wanted my father, so I'm no bad person, but it was quite conscious. And that was rather a shock. And when I admitted that to him, he said, bless you. And he is a diehard atheist. So it was a beautiful experience. So, uh, Beverly, are you willing to go next?
Okay. Okay. So let me see. So do I just read the question the way you said it and then answer it?
Yeah, you sort of respond to it, finish the statement. Something I used to react.
Okay.
Yeah.
So something I used to react negatively to, that now I feel completely at peace with, is a relationship that I was in that I got cheated on. Infidelity.
Thank you very much.
And I'm at peace with that now.
Thank you. Will you pass to somebody?
Okay, I will pass to Scott.
Thanks, Beverly. That was quick. This it's interesting. I'm trying to be concise, but it's definitely is part of my recovery. Is that I used to react very negatively to regret and resentment for my actions, and I have learned in my recovery that I have to, or forgave myself, and the regret no longer stops me in my tracks.
Beautiful. Will you pass to someone, Scott? Thank you so much.
Oh, sure. Let's go to Fallon.
She actually put something in the chat, and it may be that you don't want to speak out loud, Fallon. It's up to you. Are you willing?
I'll go ahead.
Okay.
I used to react negatively to like close people that may have judged me. And now, as of like recently, finding out that they might still hold some limited perspectives of me it actually doesn't affect me, because I feel I'm grounded and confident in who I really am, and I can understand maybe how they would have their perspective, but know that it's just their kind of their own personal perspective and opinion doesn't mean it's truth. So that would be mine.
Beautiful. Will you pass?
Oh yes, sorry. I will pass to Laurel.
I have to say I'm having trouble with this one. Trying to think. Uh, I think part of it is I mean, it might have been like I used to react negatively to people that were really functioning on eating and holistic stuff, and you know, and making health recommendations, and now I'm realizing the importance of that, and I'm more open to that, growing with that. Okay. How about you, Billy?
Okay. I I spent the first 30 years of my life trying to control reality. And I mean, I believed in magic. I believed in all kinds of crazy things. And I argued with reality all the time. Since I've been in recovery, I've learned to make reality my higher power. I surrender uh, to things as they unfold. And I figure that the universe has a purpose that I am too small to understand.
But beautiful answers we got from people. I would like to flesh them out more, and we actually had a little time, but we'll get into we'll get into more. But that was beautiful. So yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself. And I am clearly here with the choir. I don't have to depends. So I'm gonna just pop out some gems. There's a list here that these are mostly products of this community that I'm a part of, this Earthwaking community I'm a part of these days. And a lot of them I'd heard before. It just I hadn't really taken them in and just gotten to the source of them. And some of them were really a challenge. So I'm just gonna I had a little list of steps for this exercise. The first one is I think what I'm gonna do is turn off the share. The share screen is off. I didn't realize I didn't put it on, but so let me show you the share screen first, and then I'm going to turn it off. So there's a list from Reactor to Creator, responsibility gems, and an inner inventory exercise. So I'm going to read this list one by one and have people just sort of twinkle if that you value it, or you use it, or it's something like a fresh aha for you, so that we're just seeing if we have any common ground, that there's value to these. And then I'm going to ask you guys to pop in like a brainstorm some of your treasure if I have missed some. There's some that you have that have gotten you through. And then if we've got time, I'm sort of keeping on a schedule, but little tales of any of these call to mind. So if as you're listening to these, you'd be thinking of actually maybe in the moment that you see one that wakes something up in you, that you're I'll manage the time. So just if you have a calling to share something. So the first one is, I'm not gonna, all things happen for good, for those who believe. I think that is biblical related thing. Because you know what, I'm not being able to see you guys. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put this in the chat. That'll work better. Then I can see it and see you at the same time. Control C and honk. Here we go. Control V. Oops, that's not the right one. It didn't work. My technology is not being graceful today, as far as my fingers. I'm not blaming the computer, it's all me. All right. Let's see. There we go. All righty, so that's better. Now I can see if your fingers twinkle. All things happen for good for those who believe. And there's a PS on that, believe what? That all things happen for good. But is this something that anyone here sort of uses, values? Is an aha moment? For me, I use this. Anybody else? I got a nod, a twinkle. Okay. And if any of these tweaks a story and you feel free. We got a nice bit of
I
time
could
here. Go
share
ahead.
really quick on that I think that I struggle with that. All things happen for, a reason, or all things, happen for good. But I have been able to reframe it that something good can come from everything. And so in a way, we can make good from those things. And that can definitely happen for those who believe, I think, too.
Gorgeous. Thank you so much. All right. That was a little bit of a, okay, Fallon has something I used to react negatively to. Now I feel, oh, that was the old one. Okay. I'm not, for some reason, I'm not being able to make this. Oh, there it is. Every adversity carries the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. Does that ring a bell for anyone? Has anybody used that one? Okay. Do you have anything you want to say on that, Laurel?
Well, I think, part of it was that my career in behavioral health came out of the adversity of living with a mental health challenge. And actually that's led now to the dealing with kidney disease and using the same kind of advocacy tests, and we're learning about the peer world involved with other people that are dealing with kidneys.
Thank you, thank you. This is a mainstay in the community that I'm living at, and literally when it looks like the poop is hitting the fan, we celebrate, because there is a deeply held belief that there's an equal or greater opportunity afoot. And if you believe that, boy, it seems to work out. When, it's so easy to go into a negative spin, but
Is it okay if I add one?
yes, yes.
With that one, it also is my test becomes my testimony.
Lovely. Yeah, we say our mess to message. All right, so therefore, if every adversity carries a seed of an equal or greater opportunity, therefore, when something in quote bad happens, we're triggered, celebrate, consider the opportunity to be a creator. What can I use this for? Is a wonderful statement. So anybody use that kind of a, what can I use this for? Oh, this is looking terrible. Wait a minute. Here's an opportunity. What can I use this for? Does that tweak anybody? Righty, we'll go moving right along here. What we resist persists. Anybody know about that one? Feel that one? Okay. And what we focus on expands. Yep. We literally have people here who were on hospice focusing on dying, and they decided to focus elsewhere. One of them went on a whale watching excursion instead. And she had a 2-week death sentence in hospice, and she is now like I think it's 9 years that she is going at this point. So, and that was very intentional to remove her attention from focusing on dying, because all the doctors told her she was dying, and she was in a circumstance in a wheelchair with 26 pills every day and oxygen and 16 different illnesses. So okay, what can I use this for? And what we were okay, what we appreciate appreciates. So that's another one. So you're removing your focus from what you don't want to what you do want, that appreciates. Okay, if anyone's got a story, pop in. You're so welcome. We go where we live emotionally, and we use our environment to take us there. Now, that can be spicy for people who are in the midst of some kind of painful circumstance. Screw you! It's his fault. It's her fault. It looks like I love your smile, Beverly. So, anybody got a story to tell about this? An admission?
I guess
Anybody?
I could say how I've noticed that when we aren't able to change our environment, how it has been like it can be a little bit more challenging sometimes for people to change their emotional or internal world when, say, for instance, like you can't just move away from the thing that's really challenging, or you can't, so there's sometimes like an ease with being able to change the outside and then, work on the inside. And when you can't do that and you have to work towards inside out, it it's a it's understandable that it can be a little bit more challenging sometimes, but still definitely doable, I think.
Thank you, thank you. I have a thing to say that might challenge you a little bit, or at least that take a little bit. Are you willing for me to
Yes,
share?
I'd love to.
Thank
That's why I'm here.
Thank you. I'm coming now from a perspective where that was absolutely true for me at some point. But I'm coming now from a perspective that is it really true that one can't change their environment? We can't change our environment if we have a set of conditions lined up that say it needs to be that I have a roof over my head, for instance. It needs to be that I have, so if we have conditions that have to be met, but where I'm coming from these days, really a very like surrendered, if there is something in me that says this is not the place for me, this is literally hell, I'm going to trust that if I remove myself from it, the next opportunity is going to unfold in front of me. There is going to be, if I stay in my comfort zone in that all these conditions have to be met, like, it's just a perspective, but are we really, if we're even, I mean, I did prison work volunteering for 30 years, and there were people in there who literally removed themselves from the conditions of prison because they got there in their minds. And I think that's what you're talking to, that too. But they were like walking on air, and they were a complete opportunity for transformation for everyone around them. So it's
That's great. Yeah, I do see how that is like helpful to challenge it in that way. And I think it's easier sometimes to see through other people. So I think we've all been there where we're hearing someone talk about how, oh, but I can't, I can't change this or I can't do that. And it's like, well, you could, but yes, you might not be able to get everything you want. So at least at first, so yeah, I do get what you mean there. And I could also understand that changing the outside and how that could be easier than to do the inside. It could also sometimes go along with what the other one that says like what we resist persists, that if we just try to change it by escaping it, is that really actually doing the work sometimes too?
that's a lovely point. Thank you. So blank didn't hurt me. I hurt me and used blank to do it. So when you're feeling victimized by something, taking full responsibility is that statement. It's so easy to just, the apparent world is, what we're kind of conditioned and addicted to. I'm not, but if we are willing to say, I take full responsibility for everything in my reality, then we're talking liberation, we're talking, and the world is in an interesting place right now because there's so much going on that is suggesting everybody out there's got to do things in order for me to feel okay. You've got to, and it's like juxtaposed to death on the other side. There's literal death threats if, for all kinds of things, so this really is coming up to, like a do or die kind of thing. I take responsibility for my condition, regardless of all of the, the history, the it's a challenge, but it strikes me as the way home personally. So here we go. Notice what we're getting, staying stuck. So there's the term they use here is what's the cookie? If you're stuck, literally sometimes somebody might say it's, oh, I'm trapped, I don't have the finances, I don't have, my children need this, whatever it is that it keeps you stuck. My children, well, all of a sudden I'm the best mother on the planet because I'm keeping myself in hell because my children need me to. No, 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 your children need you to get out of hell. That's what your children need. Otherwise, they're learning how to go to hell. They're not learning how to live liberated and joyful. So sometimes it's significance. I know a lot about that one. And when I was a kid, I wanted sympathy so bad. I would lie to the people in school and tell them like, oh, I only got a half a peanut butter sandwich. I would like throw the half my lunch away on the way to school. I liked sympathy a lot. So anyway, if you're feeling victimized in some way, what is the cookie? Anybody got any stories about that? Thoughts, feelings, emotions? Okay. So if you notice what you're getting, just feel those chemicals, get cop to it. Notice this is a payoff. It's not necessarily really what I want. I get to feel sorry for myself. And it happens to be that there's like a whole cascade of chemicals that come when I feel sorry for myself. And I kind of find them yummy, even though they're nasty, that kind of stuff. So notice your behavior, complaints, blame, justifications, and then just see, am I fighting for my smallness? Like I can't, that word I can't is a fight for smallness. I know it well. I've did it for years and years and years. So create, imagine, feel into a different view, proclaim I am. And what we talk about in the community I'm a part of is then expect to have some flying monkeys. I am peace. Well, what's going to happen is the universe is going to give you every opportunity to prove yourself. All the things that mean no peace for you today, so that you can continually have an opportunity to go like, oh, let me see if I can handle this differently. And the first 5 times you probably won't. With this proclamation, I am what you want to be, what you truly are inside is what you truly want to be. So here we have if you take that action based on this, I am ... I am free, I am safe, I am whatever it is, and you have your challenges, whatever, but just take an action in the direction. So it's not just conceptual, that it literally is building momentum in the physical world to live the being that you truly are. And if you're focusing on that, you're appreciating what appreciates, and you're moving in the direction of your true expression. So last but not least, everything is perfect. Love is the only thing that exists. Anybody twinkling to that? I will. All righty. So any last little stories that any of these provoked? And anybody have a one that they would like to add to this list? Something that you have adopted that keeps you more in the realm of creator and not reactor.
If you don't mind, I will take a moment to share.
Yes,
I
please.
was very quiet for the last 10 minutes during this exercise because there was such significance in all these statements that were made. In my recovery, I was stuck. I was blaming everybody and everything in the world. What happened to me, I was regretful and resentful and ashamed. And I, and I can relate to your prison experience because I did spend some time in a fine New York State institution. And I experienced the being stuck in a space in an environment that I didn't believe I belonged. And it wasn't until I walked into the transitional services department and offered my speaking ability to coach and lead. And I ended up for a year and a half teaching classes for those exiting the system and teaching them how to interview and budget. And I had a purpose and I had a reason. And you know, I took that opportunity to change the environment and change my thought process. And it allowed me to build strength in an environment that I didn't think that was ever possible. And one of my core values in my recovery, and it wasn't until this moment I looked myself in the mirror and I said, I need to be honest and open with myself and truly believe in who I am in order for me to recover and everybody that was impacted by my behaviors to recover as well. So you went deep with me on this, so I appreciate you taking that to that level, and thank you for listening to me.
That was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much. And I want to say with myself, you said with myself. I put it in the chat because that's it. And I just want to kind of poll the people. Anybody spent significant time on your journey in blame, victimhood, resentment, shame? Anybody else? I will just put my hand up. I sure did. Yep. So I think that's part of the journey. I think it's it's a part of the journey. And I think it literally is the mental illness, largely it's, we're turned away from all the power. We're putting it all outside ourselves, being clobbered by it. And then when we really just turn around and go, oh, I'm part of that light. And now I don't want to identify anymore with this small self. That's just it's not a true representation of me made by my creator, or however you look at it. The light that you are is the real you, not the small victim. All righty. That was beautiful, and that touched me a lot. So what do we got next? Oh, we got a light and lively. How lovely. What's that? In this case, it is something I made up last night. I never know how these things are going to go, but in the middle of a normal session in a workshop in the prison is a light and lively every time. And ideally it gets us up and laughing. And a lot of times in the ones I'm doing these days, I do Zoom groups, two or three times a week. And we oftentimes play some YouTube video. It won't work here because of the recording, and we just do a dance party. We get up and we dance and we find funny things to move to. But this one is called, What Am I Going to Use It For? And what we're looking for is a volunteer to throw out some horrific but ridiculous challenge, like I made up two. An accidental uranium spill in your neighborhood makes you glow. That's one. Or you inherit 150 chickens and don't know what to do with the eggs. And so those are two examples. We could use those, or better, one of you comes up with something, and then the rest of us brainstorm, what are you going to use this for? So if you were glowing with uranium, what could you use that for? But does anybody have a ridiculous, anybody in the mood to make up some ridiculous thing we can help you with?
I want to share about the 150 chickens for a moment,
Okay.
because probably 10 years ago, I would take those eggs and visit those who those eggs would be thrown at. And I would use those eggs to you know, get back at the people that harmed me, if you will, in quotes. But today, I would make a lot of omelets, and I would share them with anybody who was unable to have an omelet. So it's a huge difference in transformation.
Oh, that's beautiful. Anybody else? What would you use 150 chicken eggs a day or whatever amount they lay? You're not, I see your mouth moving, Beverly, but I don't hear you for some reason. Still not hearing you. Something with your, not hearing you with your Bluetooth or something. Sometimes now you are muted. You're going to type it. Okay. But it was nice to hear your voice when we got to. Anyone else? What are you going to use it for? You got all those chicken eggs, for crying out loud. Welcome, Dominic. We just had a very important question. If you inherited 150 chickens, what would you do with the eggs? You're gonna find some purposeful use where you're taking responsibility for your life with those eggs. If you couldn't come up with anything, this is actually called a light and lively, a goofy exercise in the middle of more serious exercises. And you don't have to respond, by the way. You got the right to pass.
I don't know. I'd probably try to sell them or give them away to people who need them.
Nice. Okay. I would have the world's largest Easter egg hunt. Very good, Beverly. I love it. All right. Anybody want to come up with a ridiculous thing that could be very challenging, but we'll brainstorm how to, what are you going to do with this? What am I going to use this for? I'm going to give it a few moments and be quiet. Well, I think we were called.
I can't think, but I was the volunteer services at the hospital and we would get these donations and would like, what the heck are we going to do with these donations? Sometimes, like, I've got all these recipe cards to give out. I don't know what to do with these recipe cards.
All right. So what are you going to do with it? Anybody got an idea what to do with the recipe cards?
Make to-do lists with them or just use them for other things besides recipes, or like a recipe for mental health and affirmations for being creative with the recipe card as much as you can.
Kitchen wallpaper. All right, well, we got the taste of that. Light and lively. There's all kinds. Last time I did one where that I came here, we all pretended we were in the fun house. And I was like the driver of the first car, and everybody was in a car behind me, and so I'm like woo woo, and everybody's supposed to sort of follow along with me. And the things that were coming out, the horrible things, were things like your boss being an idiot and your wife, so it was a self-responsibility, like, oh, and screaming at all the horrible, scary things that happen in life that we try to project on the outside world when we actually have some power of responsibility within. So that was last time. It was a little more physical. So, all right. So what's next? Here's a little quote. Anybody willing to read this quote right here? Trying to. He who blames others. Oops.
Probably apropos for me to read this, right? He who blames others has a long way to go on his journey. He who blames himself is halfway there. He who blames no one has arrived.
That sounds like good ancient China knowledge. All right. This is a exercise, this final one is an exercise that is really, really powerful. And it is part of the absolute crux of what we do in our community. It involves this notion that I'm going to just explain it, and I actually don't think I need to look at that. It involves this notion that, oh, I know what I want to show you. One last share screen. I'm going to show you. Here we go. Guess who that is? Oops, wrong thing. What did I do? I have no idea why that just happened. I don't know where that came from. That was quite funny. You can do it like this too. There she is. Guess who that is? I will tell you. That's me.
We can't see it. I think
Oh,
you
you
might
didn't
continue
share
to
the
share.
screen? Okay, all right. So let me try it one more time. There we go. Share.
There we go. I'm guessing that's you.
That's me. That's me. So the reason that I am showing you this picture is because something happened to me at about that age that colored the rest of my life. And I could say it was the fault of my parents. I will tell you what it was real briefly. My mother was a young person. She was a teenager. She was 19 when I was born. My father too. They were 19. And they really weren't very equipped to be parents. It was the 50s. My mother had sought an abortion, didn't find one. So I think from the womb, I had a sense that I wasn't really welcome. But that was kind of just an amorphous energy thing, I think. But then there was a time when my mother wanted to go to school, and I was about that age, and she drops me at my father's farm where he's staying, where his new wife is, and says that they proceed to have a knockdown, drag out fight because she wanted to dump me with him, and he didn't want me there. So I'm sitting in the car listening to these two parents, which are, my survival, fighting tooth and nail. She's your kid too. I took care of her all this time. You fucking take care of her. Fuck, 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 fuck. I pulled out the emergency brake by accident in this old like black Studebaker or something car and started rolling downhill, started screaming. My mother comes out, grabs the emergency brake, pulls it, runs back in and fights some more. So it was a traumatic day. It was not a good day. So as you could imagine, a child did something with that information. And that is the problem. We look at our lives like we are the victims of that circumstance. What a fucked up thing, because my language, crappy thing those people did. They hurt that little child. She was so innocent. They did this awful thing to her. And, there's an argument for that. Yep, yep, yep. Except here we had two children raising a child, and the problem was not what they did, it was my interpretation. If I had been some kind of wise guru child that could have said, they're very young and they don't know what they're doing. And, I could have gone merrily on my way, but no, because I am a powerful creator made in the likeness and image of God, I said, this means I'm a burden. This means I'm a mistake. This means I'm worthless. This means no one wants me. And that was the seed that planted my mental illness. I lived that out progressively in my life, and I proved it everywhere I went. We go where we live emotionally, we use our environment to take us there. So this exercise is an opportunity to just take a little trip down memory lane and feel into some little area where you told yourself a lie, you planted a lie seed like I did. Their behavior had nothing whatsoever to do with who I am and how I was created, who I was meant to be ultimately, nothing. I happen to believe that everything unfolds perfectly, so it was all part of a divine plan, so there's no problem with that either. But coming to recognize that I am not the victim of that moment, I am the creator of that moment, made all kinds of difference. And that is the thing that I see happening in this community when we do events. We'll do a breakthrough, and I just watch somebody go from like believing a lie that has affected 6 decades of their life to letting it go. Because when you bring the light in, to a lie, when you bring the truth into a lie is nothing. It doesn't have any substance. Like darkness doesn't have any substance. It's the absence of light. So the lie doesn't have any substance. And when the truth comes in, and we'll show how that goes in just a minute. So I'm just gonna, move on. And I'm going to just ask people if they're willing to take a couple deep breaths. Just, if you're willing, close your eyes. This is an inside job. And just feel what's going on in your body in the moment. These are powerful concepts. And I'm just going to just ask for you to sort of take a little inventory of the flavor of your life in a certain way. Like, when do you sort of feel that the outside world is showing you something that you don't really prefer? If you notice any time you tend to say, I'm sorry for something, or resist something, or something that it makes you quick to anger. So just see if you can isolate some sort of theme that feels like some cloak you're wearing, in some sense, that it's just like, this is not really me, but it's just something I'm stuck to me. I can't get rid of it in some way. And just feel that sensation of that thing, that behavior, that pattern, that dynamic. What kind of energy does it bring up? Where in your body do you experience it? See yourself, like, how big or small do you feel when the thing is going on? Does it sort of make you retreat within yourself in some way, or does it bring up an angry aspect? Just to notice. And the most important question in this part of the show is, how does it make you feel about yourself? Words like less than, shame, I will never, those kind of feelings. Just see if you can isolate some kind of a sense of that feeling. And feel into it as best you can. Just the depth and width, the sensation of this belief, how it makes you feel about yourself when this thing comes over, happens, and takes over in some way. For mine, it would be, I am just a mistake, a burden. No one wants me. Just feel that fully. We talk about an 18-inch journey from the head to the heart through the emotions. From the ideal self with the smiley face we put on, we want the world to accept us, through the emotions, which are the real self, the raw, the shame-based, the guilty, into the true self, which is the self in our heart. But you can't get to the true self until you take that brave voyage through the emotions, the pain. So feeling the depth and the width of whatever it is, the shame, the guilt, the resentment, the hurt. And then go and find a memory, as young as you can take it. Find an early memory If you find one that's an adult memory and you can't find it, whatever comes up, but we're looking for like an early memory of when that thing at first you felt that feeling, something that brought that into life in your being. And maybe this won't work for all of you, but this is the formula. You can use it anytime, but if you just bring that memory into relief, feel with the child or whoever, whatever age, feel with that person that you were. That experience where that thing happened and you planted the seed that you planted. Just be with that child, that whoever, as best you can, to feel the feelings, allow it to touch your heart. And notice, is that possible that that moment has had an effect on the rest of your life to today? That you have felt some ramification, some echo of that hurt that still might have even affected you this very day. And now what I'd like you to do is to imagine the moment. So I think of myself, like an innocent child, that you don't have this information, that my parents did not want me. They wanted to fight tooth and nail. And that's how I interpreted they didn't want me, which actually wasn't true either, but that was what was true in the moment. And I planted the seed. So when I was about to plant, they're fighting, they're cursing, I'm pulling out the brake, I'm going through all this terror and everything. And I intuit somehow, or I come to the belief somehow. I don't think it's intuit. I make up the story. I plant the lie seed, but right before I'm about to plant that seed, so I was innocent of this information, and then I created it and planted it in my life. So right before I was to do that, so right before you're going to plant the seed in this drama that you had enacted in your life, call into your experience somebody who would never, ever, ever lie to you. Not in a million years. They wouldn't save your feelings. They would tell you the truth no matter what. And this could be a religious character. It could be a character in a book. It could be a family member, friend, pet, comic book hero. So just anything, that anyone you could call in to the moment that would never lie to you. And ask them the truth. I'm about to plant a seed that I am worthless, a burden, a mistake. I say Isho for Christ, because I think that's how you say it in Aramaic. I say, Isho, is this true? And then listen for the answer that you hear. So our time is drawing to a close, and I'd love to get some feedback on that, but I want to invite you to hold this truth that you've just heard and this opportunity to be with that child that you have opened for yourself, or that person, whatever age. And, if this was significant for you, don't just drop it. Let this be the momentum that takes you into a new I am, to revisit him or her, they, them, everyone, revisit. If that's needed, that you made a connection and now you've heard the truth, and that you're not going to lose that. So did anybody get anything of value out of this? I know I did. And is there anything anybody would like to share about that?
I'm trying to gather my thoughts to have it less elongated. But I guess what I'll say is when we have the opportunity now to have clarity about the happenings in our childhood or young adulthood or previous experiences, when we have that opportunity now to have clarity and have that honest answer and have more in-depth understanding of the situations that existed at the time, um, what your parents were going through, what my parents were going through, what happened in their childhood. We didn't know that when we were 5. We couldn't possibly understand that. We had 2 heroes that brought us into this world that were supposed to protect us and guide us. And, we couldn't understand other than we weren't wanted, we weren't accepted, or the happenings around you were just so disgusting that we developed this and plant this seed. And if we could have that knowledge back then, if we had the capacity to have that knowledge back then, how our lives would have been different? How would they have transformed? I don't know. But I can tell you that certain things in my childhood um, led me to be a certain man, a certain husband and a certain father. And without that experience, maybe I wouldn't have had that guidance. And, my seed blossomed into, whether or not I went through experiences with addiction and made some decisions and choices that led to really devastating impact on my family, that that never took away from the husband and the father that and the brother and this, that I was and became. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I wouldn't trade a thing that happened to me at this point because I love where I'm at, and I don't think I would have got here without all that story, strangely. But that's, but it's nice to know that you can, anytime you have a pain bubble come up or some kind of, oh my God, you can do this work and you can find a lie. Because if love is all there is and everything is perfect, then there's a lie if I'm all messed up. So I can see, and this affects, physical health, this affects, mental health, this affects just relational health, everything. So you can, and like I'm living in this village now. When I came here, my nervous system was attacked. I was like waves of terror like I never had before because people were just holding up these mirrors to me, showing me all these coping mechanisms that I had that really made me a great people pleaser. I was all kinds of things and they were not having any of it. And it was so painful. I'm still in that process, but oh my God, because I keep getting whacked with this stuff, I just keep going in and I keep getting cleaner and cleaner. And then eventually I literally, I'm gonna sense heaven in a flash of light. Why not? I'm not sure about that, but anyway, anyone else have a reaction to that or a creation from that? Experience they want to share about? I think we're just about done. Yeah, I got 4 minutes. All right, well, I thank you very, very much for participating. You got something, Fallon?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I thought that that was really great. This is work that I've kind of dabbled in, that inner child work before, and have been uh wondering about how to kind of reconnect with that. And just going through these trainings earlier today, the one I attended first, I just didn't necessarily get to have a feeling where I felt like it was really resonated with something new, or, and this really did give me that feeling that it was very, rediscovering, even if it was an aspect I already knew at one point, to rediscover again. And the way that you did it was just great. And I can't believe that there's not more people here. And so I feel like they're missing out. And I'm really glad that I selected this one. So I just want to say that it was great. And I'm going to practice this more, and also going to look into ways of how to, find out more about you and kind of connect more with this process you have.
Perfect timing, because I was just going to stick in the chat and I did. All these ways to be in touch. I said, literally, if somebody had a passion for doing this work, there's a free toolkit. I am happy to be like a helper mentor in this, because it's my belief every one of these circles elevates human consciousness, and that's what I'm all about these days. I just want to see it spread. And that's literally, that's my work, the peace work and the earth waking work as well. So I'm part of this community now, doing my thing within a community that's doing its thing. That's also my thing now. So there's information about the toolkit. There's information about the Alternatives to Violence project that you literally could go and volunteer and learn skills up the wazootie. It's so wonderful. Not to mention it's just good stuff. And then information about earthwaking, including a book that has a lot of this stuff in it. All these concepts came to this gentleman who was a blackout drunk atheist, beach bum, militant atheist. I forgot all the things he was, but all screwed up. Anyway, there it is. Yes, Donza.
I'm gonna say that I wish I would have gotten here earlier, but the title and everything that I did here, I'm trying to do that in my own kind of way. I always revisit myself when in two eras. When I was 7 or 8 years old, I felt so out of touch and out of place with my environment as a African American child that's light complected. I felt out of place in my immediate environment, in my community and in my immediate environment, home life, for two reasons. One, because I was picked on a lot. Two, because my mother was abusive. And I remember a time when I felt a need to escape. And me and some kids were playing on a train track, and I seen the train go down it took off. It's real slow. And everybody ran because, oh, the train's moving, we better go. But I instead jumped on the train. I said, this train might take me somewhere far away from all of this. So now in my adult life, as I take the lead to be responsible and not be bitter and hateful towards my family, my community, and for things that I was picked on or whatever, I revisit that child. And then there's another moment in my life, and I revisit that child, that person in that moment, and try to uplift him. I
That's
try to
beautiful.
motivate him.
That
And
is
there's
phenomenal.
my teen years, that teenager, I try to do the same with him. I go back and revisit, and I play back everything. And then I go through a moment of bitter hate, it hits me a little bit, but then I said, well, wait a minute, that child right there, he was just caught up in whatever he was caught up in, what was going on in society at that time. So go back and nurture him in different kind of ways. I don't really know how to do it, but I know consciously and subconsciously I have a tendency to do that every now and then.
That's
So
fantastic.
I
That's
just wanted to say that since I came in on the end.
okay. I
Thank you.
appreciate that's just where we're up to, and it's a minute over, so I'm going to hand it back to Billy. And thank you everybody so much for being here.